have been better than that. Never in 100 years did the executive branch ever endorse an asset class. When commodity index came out, the executive branch didn't say figure out the commodities index. When John Bogle evangelized the Vanguard 500, the president didn't say every American and every agency should study the Vanguard 500 and indexing of equities, right? The last time the executive branch had something to say about an asset class was the gold edict back in 1933, right? So I feel like we've got really good support from the administration. I think the regulators are progressive and very erudite. You know, when Jerome Powell, Janet Yellen, Gary Gensler have been asked about this, they say, look, it's a store of value asset, it's speculative. If people want to speculate, they can. It's not a currency. I think that all the regulatory agencies have some legitimate responsibility to work through. I think here's the big idea, McKinsey, which is for a year I've been in rooms with trillions and trillions of dollars. You know, and it's like the Ray Dalio comment, the Jamie Dimon comment. It's something like this. It seems engineered perfectly. It's obviously better than gold. It's obviously better than all the other ideas we have. It's too perfect. It's too good to be true. And so I think someone's going to ban it. And that's not uncommon. People with large sums of money that are buying fixed income or buying equity index are like, yeah, it sounds really good on paper, but you know, it must be too good to be true. Nobody's going to let that around. And so how do you answer that criticism when someone says it's too good to be true? And it is too good to be true. It's like perfect money. It's a perfect gold with none of the defects of gold, and it's a big tech monopoly with none of the exposure that Google, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon have, because they have people and they do things. And so I wanted something better than a big tech monopoly, and I want something better than gold, and so I have Bitcoin. It's too good to be true. Someone's going to ban it. And the single best way to refute that is say, well, this is what the President of the United States has said. Whereas 40 million Americans want this, I direct you to figure out how to bring it in the public policy framework. It's not going to be banned. If you disagree with the White House, the administration, the Senate, and the Congress, I'm not going to get your order. I get it. You'll be a late adopter. But I really think that we couldn't have had a better development than that executive order.
Obviously, you're a pioneer in terms of institutional adoption. Russia just saw its FX reserves weaponized against them, and typically you have this dictator's dilemma. A country like China and Russia is usually resistant to a currency that they can't control, but had Russia had Bitcoin on its balance sheet, it would have been a different story. And so, do they become first movers in terms of countries adopting Bitcoin, putting it in their reserves?
You know, Bitcoin's a paradigm shift, and the thing that causes new paradigms to be embraced is either the old guard dies, generational shift, like the millennials below age 40, they all get it, or the other thing is a war. And when you're forced by a war, and this is a classic example where Russia is forced to reconsider their treasury reserve strategy, and then every other country is invited to consider their treasury reserve strategy. Because the two challenges of a treasury strategy is, will my assets be confiscated, or will they be inflated away to be worth nothing? And if you're the Chinese, you have $3 trillion of sovereign debt, and if the dollar is devalued by 20%, then your citizens paid a $600 billion fee to basically support inflation of some other country's currency. It's a deep argument, inflation. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they'll be inflated away before they come to their senses. But when you confiscate someone's money right in front of their face immediately, that shocks them into action. So I think that the Russian sanctions have shocked it shocked Russia. Obviously, they have to figure out a new strategy. But I think all their trading partners now are forced to figure out how they feel about a different strategy. The Indians, etc. And then the Middle Easterners start to think about this, and the Chinese have to think, if there's ever a squawk or there's ever a disagreement about the South China Sea, what happens to $3 trillion of their reserves? I think that in the near term, it creates a bit of chaos and anxiety. Over the midterm, it creates a lot of inefficiencies, and we go from a single strategy to multipolar. And over the long term, I think all rational individuals conclude that being able to rely upon a neutral, non-sovereign, technically secure, ethically sound, fair monetary network is a reasonable compromise for all sides. A Switzerland that allows no one to victimize anybody else. And not only is it fair and ethical, it is also functional, and it is progressive, because we can build a better world for 8 billion people on a network which moves money at the speed of light and moves all forms of money at the speed of light. And it's clear that gold is not going to move all forms of money at the speed of light. And it's pretty clear that we can't have Chinese trading, a bunch of asbestos to the Russians for a bunch of oil at scale. And it's pretty clear to the world that the system we had was the best we could do in the 20th century. And it just doesn't work for Russians and Ukrainians and people in Africa and Asia and South America in the 21st century. And so I think this is just a big catalytic event that invites everybody in the world to ask the question, is there a better way? And I think Bitcoin is the better way. And the result will be hopefully peaceful resolution and efficient settlement for everybody.